There's Crosby Woods.
Linda, I was sorry to hear about your brother. He was a nice guy.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Zeke. Thank you.
Sorry for the news, Linda.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Don't y'all get me to.
Hey, Crosby, how are you?
I am well.
You
How
are
are you
well.
this evening?
I'm good.
I'm well, thank you.
That's good.
Nice to see you.
Yes, you too. Need to see.
Good evening, Mr. Folks.
Hey, Zeke.
Can we go fishing now?
Donald, I've been to Florida 3 times this winter and got 1 day in.
Oh,
Last trip I had 5 days booked and got none.
That's because you're not taking me.
Wrong bait. Okay, so how are we looking here with, here we go again. Did I lose y'all altogether? Did I do it again?
I can hear you.
Praise the Lord.
Can't see you.
Praise the Lord.
We got enough.
There it is.
Got 4 of us.
All righty then. Okay, let's look at a little roll call here right quick. Councilwoman Green, I know. Who's next to you? Councilwoman Alameen? No. Who's next to her?
Here's the James Logan.
Councilwoman Hunt. She's on the road. Councilperson Graves?
Present.
Yep, she's there. I thought she was.
Mr. Simpson, you here?
I am here.
All right, so we have a quorum and we can move forward. I just want to say good evening and welcome to you all. This is our second meeting in March, and we are currently coming for our executive session where we were discussing personnel, real estate, and legal matters. And at this point, Ms. Ruth Ann, could you please make note that Councilwoman Alameen and Councilwoman Hunt are not in attendance as of now. I don't know if they will be or not. And could I ask you, Chief, to share your flag so we can salute?
Yes, Madam President, flag is over my shoulder if you would like to lead us off.
Thank you, sir. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America,
And
to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God, indivisible,
with liberty and
with
justice.
liberty,
justice
and justice
for all.
for all.
Thank you, Jesus. Somebody pray, somebody, please.
I'll pray. Father, in the name of Jesus, we just come before you, Lord. Thanking you, Father, for all that you have done, Lord God. Thanking you, Lord, for all that you're going to do. We just ask, God, that you just move through this meeting, Father, that you just guide and lead us, Father, as we make decisions for the city, God, that we make decisions, God, that are pleasing and good for our residents, Lord God. We thank you for all that are assembled here. We thank you for their safety and being here, Lord God. We just ask, God, that you just move, God, like never before. And we just ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Could I get a motion for approval for our minutes from March 8th.
I make that motion.
I'll second.
Questions or comments? Full council, please.
Councilman Simpson,
Yes.
Councilman Folks,
Yes.
excuse me. Councilperson Graves,
Yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes,
5-0 carries, sorry.
thank you. Could I get a motion for approval of our accounts payables?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments regarding that? Very well. Poll council, please.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilperson Graves,
Yes.
Councilman Folks,
Yes.
Councilman Simpson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes,
5-0 carries. Thank you.
thank you, sir. Okay, do we have additions, deletions, or modification? How
We do
about
have-
an addition,
Go ahead.
7.4 for police promotion? And are these provisional hirings, chief?
Madam President, I believe the provisional hirings are
On there.
7.2 under regular action items. They would be for our part-time officers.
Yeah, they're already there.
7.4 would be for the promotion of our current full-time officers.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
So is there a second?
A second.
I'm sorry, who made the motion, please?
I did.
Yeah, thank you.
Questions, comments? Full council, please.
Councilman Simpson,
Yes.
Councilman Folks,
Yes.
Councilperson Graves,
No.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes,
4-1 carries.
thank you. Okay, so we're on to our presentation. First up will be the Redevelopment Authority. Zeke, have at it.
Okay, thank you, Linda. I'd like to just give everybody a refresher on the proposal, which is will be sent to council. We finally have completed the redevelopment agreement for the proposal for the flats. That is an events, sports, and family activities center. Project's approximately 95,000 square feet total, with a possibility of a restaurant, possibility of a hotel, athletic performance center, retail business space, 2,500 permanent seats, and expandable to 4,000 seats. There will be a velodrome, which is approximately 20% of the facility. That velodrome has an infield, which is suitable for concerts, sporting events, expos, whatever other activities they may be able to book in there. The arena structure will include a 40,000 square foot infield suitable for concerts, or excuse me, to have a 40,000 square foot sports and activities field house for court sports, hard court sports. The sale price is $750,000 with a $75,000 deposit being made by the developers. This redevelopment agreement has taken much longer than any in the past, and we've tried to avoid some of the pitfalls we had in previous agreements. It's much more detailed. For example, there will be monthly progress reports which the developer will give to us, letting us know how they're making out with their permitting process, their pre-development fundraising, their pro forma, their capital stack, and each month we'll get a form that will update us on the status of each of these things that they're pursuing. There's a 12-month due diligence period. The due diligence period would commence following, should council approve the redevelopment agreement, that starts the clock. The clock does not start until there's approval from council for this. The buyer then has, after the due diligence period, we go to closing, they purchase a property. Within 120 days, they need to begin construction. Within 3 years, they have to complete the project. Now, when I say the possibility of a hotel, the hotel is mentioned in there, and it is mentioned as market conditions. If there's a demand for a hotel, they can do it. They would certainly have to come to the city for all the approvals to do that. And there is a stipulation in there that should they build a hotel, that it be a medium priced hotel. It would not be a Motel 6. The building is oriented towards the east because this facility should serve our community, the region, and beyond. And we want this to assist us with the redevelopment of the downtown. One nice thing here is the developers do have other properties in the downtown, so it's certainly in their best interest to see this facility feed into what we are trying to revitalize downtown. The developers are local, and they are here, and I believe they're going to make a presentation and give you much more detail. As I said, the agreement is completed. We have included the city solicitor, Mr. Gerway, along the way in trying to put this agreement together so that his concerns were addressed prior to you seeing the final document.
Very well. Does any of council have any questions for Mr. DeCilio?
Don't want to
No?
put him on the spot.
Thank
Very
you
well.
for your time.
I actually had a question. Sorry, I don't know if you can see my hand.
No, I didn't. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So I just had hi, Mr. Zeke, and thank you for your presentation. Has the developer discussed any of the community benefits agreements?
That is something that you'll have to speak to the developer about. The developer
Okay.
has, I believe, multiple programs for the community, and they can give you the details on that.
And would that be the same thing for like the sustainable initiatives too? The developer would have more information on that?
Yes.
Okay. And and then another thing that came up is, are you at will to say who the developer is?
The developers are, the company is, they have an LLC, and the contact persons that we have that are principals of the LLC are Crosby Woods and Josh Burrell.
Okay. And Josh Burrell. And then the other question I had is, and this might also be for the developer, but why does this project want to come to Coatesville and be a part of our local economy?
The developer.
I believe the developer is going to answer that one for you, Ms. Graves.
Okay, that
Yeah.
is no problem. And then I just had some questions about, and I'm pretty sure this is probably for the developer too, but why a velodrome and what kind of how much activity do they think a velodrome would attract here?
Again, there are the details which I will leave the developer to answer.
Okay. Thank
Okay.
you.
Look,
Thank you
I
so much.
appreciate everybody's time. We appreciate your questions. I mean, look, the best thing we can do is be as transparent and open with council and give them as much information as we have so that you can make an informed decision.
Yes.
Before you take off, Zeke, Carmen Green has, excuse me, Councilwoman Green has a question for you.
Yes, Ms. Green.
I didn't have a question for Zeke. I was just having a question because I thought the developers were doing a presentation tonight.
They are. They're up next.
Okay.
They are, Ms. Green. I
Okay.
just want to give you an overview of what the redevelopment agreement that you're going to see, the document,
Yeah.
and they'll describe what the actual functioning of the project and what they exactly propose.
Yes,
Doing
that's why I asked, because the questions were all for the developer, and I was certain that they were given they were going to be given a presentation.
They're ready to go, Ms. Green.
Okay, thank you.
And they certainly are. I saw Crosby squirming over there when Councilperson Graves was asking questions he wanted to answer. Thank you, Zeke. And Crosby, it's your floor.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to let James jump in for a quick second.
Yeah, as many of you council members and those who are listening tonight, this particular project, and first I just want to thank Zeke and the RDA for their work that they've been pretty much put in hours on this project for several months now. Zeke, thank you to you and to the RDA members. And, you know, we're just looking forward to our next steps. Many of you in the community have been aware of this particular project. You know, it's changed hands a number of times. As Zeke mentioned, Crosby Wood, Josh Burrell, and the National Sports and Events Center came in. We've had several conversations with them about issues related to our youth in this community. And I think they have a wonderful plan. And one of the things that's important, and to your point, Mix Graves, is, you know, questions like, why are they coming to the community? And those were some of the very same questions I had. And I think after tonight, after Crosby and Josh kind of provide us with a snapshot of what this particular center will bring to the community, I think people will start getting their head around it and start embracing it a little bit more. So we're excited to have these gentlemen here tonight. And I'm just going to kick it over to you guys so you can answer some of the questions and share with us your progress and what are some of the exciting things that you will be engaging our youth in as you come to Coatesville.
Thank you, James. As I guess most of you know, my name is Crosby Wood. I represent New Heritage Properties. I've been investing in the city of Coatesville for nearly 15 years now. I believe that this project just translates as far as how we're approaching the. Sorry. I wanted to just give a quick overview of how we're approaching this evening. Yes.
1 second. I'm sorry not to interrupt, but you're freezing and then it's dragging.
Oh no.
You're clear now.
I'm going to, okay. So if this continues, and I apologize, and I'm just going to hand it off really quick. But basically, Josh Burrell, my partner at Activated Capital, is going to follow me with the impacts that we've made in the joint venture between New Heritage and Activated Capital. I've asked Dave Chauner to step in and talk directly about how we're intending to engage the next generation of Coatesville use in the community through the Velodrome Development Foundation. And then I've also asked Dan Morton from Sports Facility Advisory to step in, and he's going to guide us through the abridged presentation that we in part gave to the RDA earlier last year. So I also want to thank Michael Gill from Buckley Bryan and his tireless efforts from the legal perspective. We have Andrew Willis, who's a partner of Activated Capital. He's instrumental with Josh Burrell in bringing a significant amount of capital that's already been deployed onto the streets of Coatesville, making both an economic impact and a social impact. And then many of you others that have been very supportive of everything that we've been trying to do. So National Sports and Events Center, frankly, it's coming to Coatesville because I want it there. Not because I can, wave a magic wand. It's because Dave and Rick and Vincent have had a tremendous project. We have combined them with the Activated Capital Group and brought in the sports facilities guys and really designed a tremendous development team that we believe can bring this to fruition. Activated Capital Principal Manager, and he's going to touch a little bit on the impacts that we're having on a day-to-day basis here. Thank you, Josh.
Thank you, Crosby, and thank you, everyone. And let me know if you can hear me or see me, and certainly I appreciate you shaking your heads and
Certainly.
letting me know, and we can try to adapt and change. And I think as Crosby mentioned, my name is Joshua Burrell with Activated Capital, and I've had the pleasure of getting to know quite a few of local Coatesville citizens and the community over the last 2 years. And when we talk about being flexible and adapting, whether it be a screen or throughout COVID, certainly that is something that we talk about a lot. And I'm going to share my screen for just to showcase some of the efforts on where we've been going or where we've been, and then hand it over to David, as Crosby mentioned, on to where this project will go from there. So let me see if I can share my screen here. And this is the next. We have a few different presentations to share, but let me know if you can see my screen. But this is just an example of a project that we have done throughout COVID. It is at West Lincoln and Church, and it's just an example of what we define as impact. And we will look to define impact in 3 pillars, and that's economic development, the literacy, financial literacy in particularly, and then also mental health. So that is very important for us to be able to create opportunities for jobs, a lot of local jobs as well. We will look as much local as we possibly can too. But looking at what we've done on St. Stan's, this is now the Performing Arts Academy with Purpose. And so you can see the before and after photos, looking at some of the work that we've already done in the around the community and some of the buildings there as well. So very active in trying to make the community as a whole, not the flats parcel, successful, as Crosby mentioned. But happy to answer any questions about any of our projects. When it comes to our youth desk campaign, we've donated over 350 youth desks to the community as well to help throughout COVID. And that was just something when we went through this pandemic to see how can we help and be involved. And so that is something that we will very much look forward to continuing and then expanding on. And I think what Dave is going to speak about is going to be exactly that. So I'll pass it over to Dave and let him speak about the Founders Youth Cycling Program. See if we can unmute him.
Dave, you're on mute.
Here we go. All right, can you hear?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I just wanted to introduce myself briefly. I'm a member of the community. I live in Chester County, live in Westchester, about 10 miles from Coatesville, and very familiar with the project, with Coatesville, and certainly with the project that we're talking about now. In fact, about 10 years ago, Crosby and I tried to do this project before. It didn't work out for a variety of reasons, which we don't need to get into right now. But the most important thing I think for everyone to think about is that this National Velodrome is going to be a world-class venue for local, regional, national, and international cycling events. It's a major facility. It's going to be known worldwide, and it'll be the first indoor velodrome on the East Coast. Although there are many other velodromes around the country, this is the first indoor one. And it's really has the support of the entire national cycling community, including USA Cycling, which has tapped track cycling as a #1 focus for future Olympic development. But what I want to talk about tonight, more importantly, is the Velodrome Development Foundation. We've started this 501c3 nonprofit a couple of years ago, focused on developing an international velodrome, hopefully more to follow, but to develop the sport, but also to engage the community. In fact, our mission is enriching lives and positively changing communities through cycling. And what I'd like to say, really, just as a lead off here, is that our programming focus is to create and support cycling activities and events that serve young people. And these are persons with disabilities, students and elite level athletes. Most importantly, we promote a cycling and sports community that embraces diversity and inclusion and teaches participants the character building lessons of fair play, cooperative learning, team building, and personal achievement. The honorary chair of the Velodrome Development Foundation is Greg LeMond. I'm sure you've heard his name. He's a 3-time winner of the Tour de France and a big believer in youth development programs leading to the possibility of Olympics and beyond. We have a diverse board of national and regional cycling supporters, including Nelson Vales, who's the first African-American to win an Olympic medal in the 1984 Olympics. Catherine Bertine, who's an international advocate for women's cycling and is well known around the world as someone who campaigns for equality in the sport. We've most recently and most importantly launched a $5 million capital campaign, which is directed by Wishnet Strategies in Washington, D.C. Steve Wishnet, the founder and president of this company, is been very actively in the nonprofit sector for his entire career. He's been a member of the U.S. Olympic Committee. He sits on the Commonwealth Games Federation and the Special Olympics, and he's been involved in many philanthropic capital campaigns around the world on many different subjects, not just sports. Our Founders Circle, you saw the cover of the brochure that we have, which all of you would be able to see, is basically an informational piece about what the Founders Circle is, what it means to Coatesville, and what our objectives are. Obviously, states our mission, but also goes into detail about what we hope to do. The Founders Circle, it's called the Founders Circle because anyone who joins the Founders Circle has to contribute at least $25,000. And we have, even before we have site approval, even before we have renderings of the facility, we have 4 Founders Circle members who pledged more than at least $25,000 each. And we plan to really gear up this campaign once we have the final City Council approval and we have some facility renderings, and we can really talk into the benefits and the opportunities that donors will have. But in addition to a very robust program of major cycling events, and that's at every level, from local competition to all the way up to Olympic and international competition, including live streamed international meets all over the world. We will help develop, and this is a really important part of our mission here, is to help develop the community, the community and particularly the youth of the community in programs that we think are really going to benefit the youth of Coatesville, future cyclists, and honestly, the society in general. So some of our activities and our goals are to secure a stable of track racing bikes, track bicycles, which is a special bike you have to use on bank velodromes for use in all the development programs. We want to reduce the cost as much as we can, in some cases offer scholarships for kids and create a whole program that will make it very easy for kids in the community in particular to participate. Another goal is to teach the cycling fundamentals for youth, families, and local companies through a thing we call the Try the Track program. And anybody who's been around in cycling knows that one of the most important things that kids have to learn when they learn how to ride a bike is how to ride it safely. And there's really no way that people are taught that in any, with any real consistency. And so the program and learning how to ride on the track is where you really learn the fundamentals of how to pedal, how to ride, how to handle yourself in traffic, and so on. We also are looking forward to establishing local youth leagues through area recreation departments and schools. There's a lot of colleges in the area who have club teams in cycling, which is now a very big growing sport in cycling. Intercollegiate cycling is governed by the Eastern Collegiate Cycling Conference, has 75 colleges between Pennsylvania and Maine, and most of them have cycling teams that travel. And so the ability to bring them into a velodrome where they can learn to ride and race is another key component to it. Another major factor that's important for us is partnering with regional cycling associations. And we're talking about businesses and organizations and clubs, including the Bicycle Coalition of Philadelphia, which has a very active youth cycling program. I was involved in their Cadence Cycling Foundation. It was first started, and it's a way to get youth into a great program, and has led to many kids getting in college and going beyond and basically shaping their lives in a very positive way. The National Interscholastic Cycling Association, the Pennsylvania chapter, they're very active in schools teaching a mountain bike program. They have about 40,000 members in about, I think, 10 or 15 states, and they're growing very actively, and they very much want to participate with us in helping out with the school programs and the youth programs. There's also a good youth program going on at Trexlertown, the Velodrome up in Allentown. I was one of the first directors there and created that program, and that's the kind of program that we want to see come here as well. There's other programs around the country that we work with and can tie into Star Track in New York, the Connecticut Cycling Advancement Program. USA Cycling has a great developmental program that helps pick up young kids, find their talent, and then give them a pathway all the way up to the Olympics. And there are a number of area cycling clubs and teams. There's over 2 million cycling enthusiasts in the Delaware Valley. And I have to tell you, from being one of them myself, it's a very underserved community. There's not a lot of facilities there aren't any real facilities. And as you know, that riding on the roads is sometimes dangerous. And unless you're in a very rural setting, it's challenging. So the importance of engaging all of these clubs and giving them a safe place to ride and a place to gather is really important. We hope to host some activities for cycling organizations around the country that can come here for meetings and so on. But most importantly, it's about the kids. It's about getting the kids from the community involved in a very interesting and exciting sport. We've seen it happen in Trexlertown when I started the program up there in the mid 70s, I hate to say it. We've run 40,000 kids through the program since then. It's produced about 150 national champions and over a dozen Olympians. And I think it's something that Coatesville will be very, very proud of, and something that we want all of the kids to participate in. And I think that importantly, as everybody knows who's been tracking this at all, not everybody knows a lot about cycling. Not everybody understands that cycling is a sport that could grow. You don't know much about it. I can give you a few facts. Certainly the COVID-19 situation we've been going through this past year has seen bike sales increase by 120%. The circuit trail usage in Philadelphia area, that's the Schuylkill River Trail and the trails that are expected to, the Chester Valley Trail, which is going to be extended out towards Coatesville, we hope, in the not too distant future. That trail usage is up over 150%. And it's a growing and amazing sport. It's great for kids. It's a lifetime sport. But cycling is not the only thing that's going to make this facility successful. And very early on, we recognized that a bike racing program or cycling program, particularly since there's not a lot of precedent for this in the United States, we need multi-purpose and multi-use. And when we connected with Sports Facility Advisory, that was the missing link for us. And this group, and I'm going to turn it over to Dan in a second, but this group is known all over the country. They have a network of 25 facilities that they work with. They will be intimately involved with the whole program, working closely with us. We'll be focusing mostly on the cycling, but they'll be working on just about everything else. And I think the combination is going to be an absolute home run for Coatesville and a real game changer. So with that, I'm going to shut up and turn it over to Dan Morton.
Thanks, Dave. Can everyone hear me okay? Just give me a nod. All right, looks good. Well, thanks for giving us the time to speak with you this evening. I'm going to go through this presentation and I'll be relatively quick and so we can get to questions. There's a lot of detail behind everything that we're going to share. My name is Dan Morton. I'm with Development Advisor with the Sports Facilities Advisory. I've been on the team for about 10 years, really focused on new facility development. So you can go to the next slide, Josh. So Dave mentioned it, but one of the things I want to key in on, and Zeke gave you some ideas of what is within this facility. I'm not going to read everything here, but obviously a velodrome and multifunction event facility is at the core here. But really what we focus on and what we do in venues across the country is we look for dynamic, flexible spaces that we can really diversify the offerings, both what we can do from a programming perspective, the services we can offer, which is helpful for us internally from an operation to create sustainable models, but also offers a wide range of activity to the communities we work with. So just for example, within the infield of that velodrome, that's 20,000 square feet of infield space that we can do non-sports events, concerts, graduation, public events, community and civic events, but it'll also be flat floor, hardwood court space where we can do things like basketball and volleyball for multi-generations, from youth up to seniors, things like pickleball and silver sneakers programming. This is what we're doing in facilities across the country and taking assets that drive non-local visitation, but also creating community access. And so there's benefit throughout what's happening in those spaces. So there's a lot of things happening within this facility, but the key is being dynamic, flexible, and diversified in the offerings that we have. You can keep going, Josh. So just background on us, be really quick again. Sports Facilities Advisory, we're founded in 2003. Since then, we've served 2,000 communities. Dave mentioned it. We're also involved in the operation and management of venues across the country. We saw 25 million visits within our facilities in 2019. Obviously, we've been impacted in 2020 with the pandemic, but we expect that to grow in the future. Two things I'll highlight is not only are we working on sports and event facilities, but we're also the only recreation advisor to the ICMA, or International City Managers Association, advising them on how you create recreation within their communities. And we've also been engaged by Florida Recreation and Parks Association, California equivalent organization, as well as Kansas, to help them understand the impact of parks and recreation assets, which is what this will be activated by this operation. But what is the impact in home values, on crime, on wellness, on education, social? There's a lot of different areas these facilities impact, and we're key and focused on that as thought leaders in the industry and how we can serve that within our communities. Keep going, Josh. Thank you. You can skip through this. So just to highlight, could go to the next one, just to highlight from an SFM network perspective, again, we manage 25 venues across the country. This is 700 members. We're actually 1,000 people now across the country, a varying range of facilities, but you'll see at the bottom there, the SFM network. This facility will become part of the SFM network operated by our company of professionals, which allows us to leverage our systems, our technologies, our resources, and our talent to bring what we've achieved in other communities to Coatesville. And we're really excited to do that. And one of the example projects I want to make sure, number 2 on that list, is Rocky Mount Event Center. Really unique and similar to this in that it's a redevelopment, or was a redevelopment, of a downtown area in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. And we've seen incredible investment, not only on the site, but in the community, into businesses, restaurants, hotels going up next door. And so we've realized and we've seen the impact of these activities that they can have on the local economy. And so we're really excited to have that concept come to Coatesville. Keep going. Just from an industry perspective, this was the youth and amateur sports travel industry was about an $18 billion industry, expected growth about 20% annually over the next 5 to 7 years. The key natural question for everyone is, what is the impact of the pandemic? And so while it heavily impacted our industry, we operate those 25 venues. And so we're up and running in some capacity every single one, following guidelines of those states and those municipalities. The key is that we're proving by developing guidelines and procedures that are vetted up to the governor's office in those states that keep our players, spectators, parents, et cetera, safe. And so we've proven the ability to do that, and we are hosting activity within our facilities safely. And what we've seen importantly in the projections and the bookings in our venues is that we expect, as the leader in this industry, for this industry to continue to grow and actually be on the front lines of economic activity that brings us out of some of the things we're dealing with from our economy. And we're hearing that and realizing that in communities we manage in. So we are excited, and we believe that this industry will continue to be what we call recession resistant. Nothing's recession proof. And we saw this in the last recession, that people will continue to spend on their kids, continue to travel for their kids, and we're seeing that. So we can skip through everything. Dave talked about World Cycling League, and I believe it's time for me to wrap, but we're excited about the impact for this facility that it can have. We forecasted in our pro forma about 40,000 new room nights annually, $18.6 million in economic impact annually, new non-local spend. Josh, one last thing I want to highlight is the job creation, if you want to go down to that. But we've also forecasted new jobs that will be brought to the community by this operation. And we expect that to be about 100 full-time equivalent jobs in year 5. That's full-time equivalency. That's both full-time and part-time positions that equal full-time rates. So again, just want to share some of the impact. Really excited to bring this to Coatesville and to continue the work there. I'll wrap up. James just mentioned that to me, so I'll turn it back over to you.
Well, that was great. I appreciate it. Crosby, did you have anything you want to add? Or I know that Councilperson Graves, you had a few questions.
Yeah, I just want to thank everybody's time. I think I have a bad internet connection, so I won't risk it any further. But I welcome questions, comments, and then I'm accessible. I know that this isn't going to go to a vote tonight, and so therefore we welcome questions tonight, as well as at any point. We're always available. So, by all means, reach out to us. I'm sure James can forward you our contact information if you don't have it already, but thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Great presentation.
Councilperson Graves?
Yes, sorry, I just had to follow up with my questions. So what are the community benefits, or is there a community benefits agreement with the people who live, people in our community that live closest to this national sports and events velodrome? And how does this project fit in with the interest and the interests of the community that it seeks to serve? And by interest, I mean things that they are interested in doing and participating in. That's my first question. I don't know if you want me to list them or if you want to answer them one by one.
Dan, why don't you take that? Or Josh, sorry.
Yes, no, I mean, I can certainly answer that in a few different ways, Ms. Graves. I think on how the community benefits is coming back to how we certainly define impact and economic development. So being able to have job opportunities, for one, is certainly a community impact. We've already showcased that we will always look local first. That is an extreme.
We lost you, Josh. You guys need to get some
better internet connections. Huh?
Well, Josh is on pause for a second. Just from a programming side, with SFM, the operation, we work with every community to not only look at, what can we operate for sports and activities, but also what's needed in the community, and creating what we call the SFM Access Program, which is something we have in every facility that we operate and is unique to every community. But the genesis and the benefit of it is taking what we can achieve in corporate sponsorship and other relationships, and using those funds and leveraging those to create access to the community, to the facility and those programs, regardless of the ability to pay for those. And so that allows, this facility is not meant to be a facility that only the most fortunate can participate and pay for. And so we're focused on that through programs as well as the rest of the development. So I just want to share that from the operations perspective. Those programs are built around the community and what they're interested in.
My main priority is sustainability. I think when we were presenting to the RDA in the past, I think that everybody gets caught up in the construction of some of this grand facility. But while that is nice and good, and that creates a short-term impact, what's really important is the management of this facility, because that's what everybody depends on. If the management is poor, then you can just kiss away economic impact, you can kiss away jobs, you can kiss away everything that we are building, the whole reason we're building this facility. And so it's about sustainability. And so while we want the facility to be accessible to the community, I think we all can appreciate that it's going to take a regional draw to support such a facility like this. We're talking millions of dollars in budgetary overhead, and so it's a balance. So that's why we had the Velodrome Development Foundation. We have it create all from outside, but also support local interests. So no, we do not have a formal community benefits agreement, but I like to think that there's a fiduciary responsibility to the community based on real work that we're doing right now in the community. It's great. So you have a second question?
Yes. And so then my next question is, just because there isn't not that I see anyway, a Olympic cycling or speed cycling, culture that already exists in Coatesville. I don't see a lot of kids on speed bikes, just kind of outdoor bikes, or even mountain bikes sometimes. I was just wondering why Coatesville, why was it so important that this be in Coatesville for this regional draw here?
Okay, I guess I'll answer that. Well, first of all, I think that I know that a lot of people don't know a lot about cycling, but there are thousands, if not millions, of people that ride bikes and that are interested in cycling in all of its different organizational forms. And I think I'd like to say that cycling is an underserved community. I mean, most cyclists don't really have a place to go where they can really enjoy a facility and whatnot. And what I've found in my career of organizing cycling events and being involved is they're huge community supporters. That kids get excited about riding bikes. There haven't been many programs for them to get involved in, which consequently is why you don't see as many organized programs. But I think that's what we want to bring to this. And I think one of the things that I've learned, in my career, and I was a cyclist myself, is that not every kid is talented enough or has the right physical requirements to succeed in basketball or football or baseball and some of those other sports. And cycling offers an opportunity for a lot of those kids that don't have a particular skill set. And we found many of the top cyclists, like a guy like Greg LeMond, he was not very good at throwing a baseball and he was too small to play football, but he found cycling and it changed his life. And I've seen that happen time and time again. So I think really what we hope to do with this, and I know we will do with this, is expose kids and families to something new. And I think when I I've done a lot of youth programs, and when I see kids come to the velodrome and they can see somebody riding around the velodrome, they can look at a cool bike that they can get on and try, they get very excited. And I know from the Cadence Cycling Foundation that I was an original board member of. We started a youth program in Philadelphia. Kids didn't know anything about cycling. And at first they were kind of like, oh, you guys are silly. What are you doing that for? And pretty soon we had a dozen or more schools with teams that kids came out and they met in the park and they did, rides together and they learned the fundamentals. And it's like any other sport, only it's different because it's got a piece of equipment and because, not everybody knows about it. So I just think it's a huge opportunity, and Coatesville is a great place. There's a lot of athletic talent in Coatesville, and you don't find that kind of athletic talent everywhere. And I know that for a fact, and we all know because so many great athletes have come out of Coatesville. And I think it's an opportunity for disadvantaged kids that maybe don't have an opportunity to do some other things. And that's a big part of what we want to do is get these community kids involved. And we'll be doing clinics, we'll be doing presentations. We'll invite the kids down to watch some of the racing. We'll get them involved in every aspect of the program. And I think you'll see that it's going to end up being a very exciting thing for the kids.
But what I want you to remind you of is that this is a national sports and event center, and the cycling program represents about 20% of the revenue streams. So while the cycling is perhaps a higher profile user of this facility is about creating opportunity for the next generation of Coatesville. And while, and yes, we have a cycling component, but there's 80% of this facility and the activities of the facility that's not cycling. And so there's opportunities for all interests in this facility that is going to multiply exponentially. So just remember that while the cycling is a high profile, it's totally diversified.
Right, everyone. I want to thank you. We've gone over our time. I see Councilman Folks. He has his hand up. As we were saying earlier, if any of the council members have any additional questions, I'd be more than happy to take those questions. Or if you like their direct contacts, I'd be more than happy to provide those contacts for you. Councilman Folks.
Yeah, how you doing? Hey, Cross.
Nice
to meet your team. I'm a newbie. I'm going on my first time running for council. Before I was on council, I was on RDA. And before that, I was on civil service. But every time somebody came into this city, they would give all this stuff and then don't have the money. Or they were going to have their hand out saying we need money. I don't want you to come in here and say good things and we give you rope. And then you turn around saying, well, we need money. We're out of it. We can't finish it. I don't want you to come in here and start something and don't finish it. I want you to come in here, put a shovel in the ground, and finish this thing if you're going to start it. But if you don't have the money, say it up front. Don't wait till a year later and say, hey, we're done. I'm tired of that. And we've been so bad in this town of bringing in developers, and they just shit on us. Excuse me. But that's what they do. and look, I'm 100% behind you. But I want you to be upfront with us. Right out the gate. Hey, we're going after so much money. We need this, we need that. But don't come in here and say, I got it. Because we got a hole in the ground down there on 82 and 30. We don't want that on the Flash. Flash is the last piece of land we have. Almost. And we want it right. So look, If you got it, I'm behind you. I'll be your biggest cheerleader.
Thank
But
you.
if you don't have it,
Great.
that's what I gotta say.
Understood.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Mr. Simpson, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions for team, but what I do want to say is that I think you can see from the investment that New Heritage and Activated Capital has made in this city in the last couple of years. They're not getting into this. I mean, they're going to have some skin in the game. They are the only ones, I think, that said that they would put up a deposit. They are the only ones that said that they would pay $750,000 for the property. Everybody else wanted it for nothing. So I think that, their actions speak louder than words. And, once we approve this and they put that deposit down, we'll see what happens. Because I think they have an investment in this city. And I think without this, it doesn't help any of their other investments. And I think they're committed to this. I think now's the time is right. I've been listen to this Velodrome for, I guess you could say, rhetoric for the last 10 years. And I was very enthused about it then and very enthused about it now. You don't get the people that have been involved in this, and like Greg LeMond and some of the Olympic cyclists. And what we have to do is, every time somebody wants to bring something to Coatesville, everybody says, well, how's that going to benefit the community? Like, it's not all, it's like the community is the city of Coatesville and the surrounding communities. So, we have to look at the economic impact of all the people. We want to bring people into the city to make this a better city. And I think this is one of the first steps to do it. And I want to thank you, gentlemen, for being persistent and staying with us and hanging in there.
All right, well, thank you. Thank you all. And I do apologize. Our next presenter is Kimberly Day Hardy. Kimberly, as you might have noticed, that we had to take a little extra time on this one. So I appreciate your patience. 1
second before you get started, Kim. I would also like to say to the guys from NSEC, I appreciate, your willingness and your due diligence. And I want to acknowledge to Zeke, I think one of the most important factors of what you were explaining to us from the beginning is the monthly setting, the goals that are set for monthly achievements, because that within and of itself will keep the project on track, and it will also allow the community to see that you are surely bought in. So I thank you and appreciate that.
Thank you.
Kim. Is she there?
I'm here. Good evening. I just needed to unmute. Well, thank you. Well, good evening to everyone, and thank you, James, for the opportunity to share what I'll be sharing with you this evening. I'm really excited to be here tonight and appreciate all of the familiar faces and joining with some new faces for myself. I am Kimberly Day Hardy, Strategy Officer with the Brandywine Health Foundation. We are a Greater Coatesville based funder and we fund around the social determinants of health, which allows us to stretch our coverage, if you will, across all of the non-municipalities in the area. And so We are excited not only about all of the things and the movement that we see happening, not only in the city of Coatesville, but the surrounding area, but we're excited to talk about this new initiative that we have been working behind the scenes, if you will, with many of our partners throughout the city. And you will hear me use the word, I will do my best not to overuse the word partner, but it is a partnership indeed. Our offices, as many of you know, are located right in the Lukens building, right at the intersection of Business 30 and First Avenue. Our team is currently still working virtual, like many of you are as well, but we are beginning to come back into the office on a hybrid kind of format, if you will. So looking forward to continuing to see all of the movement. I do have a short presentation, which will just help me stay on track. And I do want to be mindful of the hour. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now. And slideshow. Okay, so hopefully most of you can see my screen pretty good. So again, we are the Brandywine Health Foundation, and the initiative that we have been working behind the scenes on, if you will, is known as the Coatesville Black Media Renaissance Initiative. And James, you please do correct me if I have the year wrong a little bit, because I know in the midst of COVID, we've been working on so many things, but I know conversations across many of the cross-sector partners that we are working with have been had about what types of innovative things we can do and partner with the community on, not only around media and community voice, but specifically around, just making an impact in light of some of the things that have been happening, not only in our area, but just in our nation across all platforms. Our CEO, Vanessa Briggs, which many of you do know, and Mr. Logan, who is graciously on the call tonight, leading the call, had a conversation really talking about, again, some of the things that the community had been sharing about what they wanted to see in Coatesville. And many of us began to kind of brainstorm and just talk about a creative way, a creative approach that we could really convene folks together and really begin to lift up the arts a little more in the community. And so born was the Coatesville Black Media Renaissance Initiative. So what is that? This initiative really was just birthed and sparked out of just the evidence of what we have been seeing around racial inequity in our communities, social injustice, inequality. And this idea really kind of came out of this conversation again that just sparked out of the need for just some creative ways to do something a little bit different amongst the arts community. And really these conversations kind of stemmed out of what was happening in our region. We know that we've been battling in COVID-19 since March of last year and some months before. But throughout this pandemic that is still with us, we've seen a lot of other things happening, and the pandemic really, as many of us know, lifted up a lot of the disparities that we've already known to be true in our communities across the board. On top of that, we experienced a lot of just injustice, really, and people began to speak out and cry out and say that something different needed to be done. And so as a funder in the public health space, one of the things that we recognize is that racial inequity and racism are all components of what impacts us around the social determinants of health, where you live, how you spend your dollars, access to education, access to food, all of those components go into the health of a community. And so with the coronavirus among us, the economic downturn that resulted or that came forward in light of COVID, and really just uncovering of some of the injustices that we've seen in our criminal justice system, this voice, this idea, this way to channel energy and talk about and have the hard conversations, and then talk about how we could plan some really innovative and creative programming in our community came about. These societal issues that have been exposed, again, have come out of a lot of the things that have disproportionately impacted African Americans in our community. And so one of the, of course, biggest misfortunes and biggest travesties to our society, of course, was the death of George Floyd. Also the death of Breonna Taylor, and many other names that we continue to lift up. And again, we saw in the midst of the coronavirus taking place in the form of an impact, we also saw the community responding through marches, through so many different platforms. And so this idea really birthed out of everything to say, what can we do to gather the community together and really begin to lift up community voice in a new and unique way. In March of 2020, the Brandywine Health Foundation, in its immediate response to the pandemic, launched what we refer to as our Healthcare and Economic Relief Fund. And really what that enabled us to do is really respond quickly, not only to our grant partners in the community, respond to some individual requests in phases. The first phase being the emergent responses and emergency response, if you will. The second phase being more of a, how can we then begin to sustain and talk about long-term application of how we can really, again, keep everything moving forward. And so we released a general operating fund. And then our phase 3, which we are preparing for at this time, we are looking at continuing to look at ways to, again, be responsive, but also support the community. And so what came out of that, again, is this continual focus on our strategic plan, if you will. And one of the components of our strategic plan was really, again, talking about the lifting up of community voice, the lifting up of creating an equitable opportunity for all voices to be heard. And so when we wrote the strategic plan in 2018, 2019, we didn't know, of course, that everything in our society would transpire as it has. And so again, it really feels timely in a sense that this community voice project happening at this time, at a time when we really have an opportunity to shift the narrative. The timing of it couldn't have been better. So the Community Voice Initiative under the Brandywine Health Foundation, one arm of it is the Coatesville Black Media Renaissance Initiative. And this project is funded by the Independence Media Foundation and the Philadelphia Foundation, of course, out of Philadelphia. So what is it more specifically? What we wanted to do was create an opportunity where we could influence media, influence policy, influence system, and really, again, work and partner with residents and the arts community, if you will, to really help shape a new narrative about the way, about the things and issues that are most pressing, things that are of concern to us. What we wanted to do was kind of do this through 3 platforms. One is the advocacy platform. And so tonight, where I have an opportunity to share with you as the council and residents who are watching, there's also a greater advocacy platform that we're building to be able to say, these are our issues. This is how we will lift them up. These are ways in which we desire to lift them up and create a new narrative, again, that allows some of the issues that are most pressing to our community to be heard. The second way that we would implement this is through arts and culture. And so what we wanted to do was promote and build and come together around a Black Expo. And I'll talk a little more about that in a few minutes, but a Black Expo that would be almost like a ongoing expo, if you will, that again enables the arts community to have a voice, but also enables the youth an opportunity to have a voice through what we're creating. And I'll speak a little more about that. And then ongoing, one of our community partners is Fonz Newson and his amazing show, City Talk Live, which streams on Facebook. he is already connecting and engaging with the community. And so we partnered with Fonz to really, again, just continue to support and talk about issues that are pressing, most pressing to the community, but also create long-term conversations and build that up more. So what this project does, it engages artists. And right now there are local artists and community partners that meet twice a month and collectively basically plan and implement this community-driven strategy to change the media narrative and to build a sustainable platform for ongoing community voice and inclusion. And so this group is actually building it out. There's no, unlike other funding opportunities, there is no specific format or plan, if you will, to how this would be done. But this funding stream enables us to really creatively come together and build it. And that's a little bit different. Normally, when you are funded for specific projects, you are required to say, here is my specific formula. Here is A, B, C, D. This is exactly how I'm going to do it. This funding opportunity enables us to build that structure and lift it together as a group, as a community. And so that's the essence of what Community Voice and the Black Media Project is all about. And so that's a little snapshot of what we have done thus far. Again, the partners are meeting monthly, and we will continue to meet throughout the summer and early fall. You'll continue to hear more about the expo that is coming together. And then there are other projects that the group is interested in launching as well. But right now, as they're planning and really creating, it's a really, again, unique opportunity to have representation from your arts community, from business owners to photographers, to your storytellers, to your artists who are in not just media arts, but graphic arts, media design, and also television. It's just amazing that, you know, of course, when we come together, there are amazing things that we can create. And this is a model that has been used in other cities, but really regionally, we never like to compare what's happening in Philadelphia is happening in Philadelphia, and that's a great thing. What's happening in Coatesville is also amazing things happening in Coatesville. And so this project really is about lifting up that voice and lifting up Coatesville. So we're really grateful to be in partnership with the Independence Media Foundation, who is creatively looking for opportunities to lift up communities in this region. And so there are a lot of community voice projects throughout the area, but because of just the unique and it's just something unique happening in Coatesville, happening in the arts community. So we are really excited about this project and continually look forward to building it out. And so that's the overview. Certainly for more information, we are always available at the Brandywine Health Foundation as far as conversation and inclusion. But if you're interested in how to get more involved with this project and interested in learning more about this project, you will continue to hear more. But of course, I'm always available. So I just included my information and email here and want to definitely open the floor for any questions that anyone has.
I have a question. Mr. Logan, do you see my hand?
I do.
Yes, I do.
Hi, Kim.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
Good.
Good. I just have a question. I remember years ago when they would have the art classes at the high school. Mm-hmm. They would have like an art show, and they would have the artists hang all of their paintings in storefronts downtown. And I don't know if Ed or Linda remembers that, but paintings from the high school would hang. These were people, I guess they were entering contests and things like that, but they would change them periodically. But they would all hang in storefronts downtown. And when I was reviewing, you were saying that the art would be prominently displayed in places. Is there somewhere specific that would take place? Because I think that would be really cool if we could do that, you know, for a period of time. I'm not sure, you know, but is there a place that you had in mind that the art would be displayed?
Thank you so much for that question. I mean, we absolutely, I can even tell you that there were several folks who brought up that idea, the concept of that live, almost like I forgot what the formal term is for it when you hang those hang paintings and stuff, but just like that walking live, you know, kind of like the arts of Coatesville, if you will. So I know that there are several ideas on the table, if you will. Perhaps I know that there's the flags that align the downtown that has been discussed. There's also storefronts, and then also the possibility of a live art show right in your building, in your at the municipal building is another as well. But I also love that storefront because I think just people being able to see it and embrace it and really, and it be lifted up. And the one thing about this project is, and the biggest part about it is the sustainability component of it, because beyond this funding, and I think someone already said it, Mr. Folks already mentioned it, that we don't want to just talk about things that we do in the here and now, but what is the long-term, you know, impact of this? What is lasting? How can we build? Is this an annual, you know, event that takes place? Is this something that goes along with Unity Day? There are so many different ways to fold it. And so, yes, this artistic group coming together would love to do something like that. I think our biggest challenge has just been figuring out when will the COVID restrictions lift so that we can really, you know, kind of forge forward and do some different things. So yes, that idea is something that this group is fully embracing.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks
Thank you.
very much. We have time for one more question from Councilperson Graves, and then we would need to, we would need to move on.
Yeah, and just for Mr. Logan, I'm going to have to leave here. So in about 12 minutes. So if we continue on much farther, then I don't know how that may affect some of the some of the votes coming up. So just giving you a heads up.
Understood.
Hi, how are you? How are you? Kimberly, and thank you so much for your work around the pandemic with Brandywine Health Foundation. So I just was asking kind of like, what is the format of the event? A similar question to Carmen, but also I had some questions about, do you have like people working on a directory of like the podcasts or artists, the local artists that are in Coatesville, or initiative to like reach out to find folks? Because we have a ton of podcasters in Coatesville. And then my next question was, I see that there is opportunity to have an event, like a fun event, sort of like a roots picnic or Afro punk, that is like, you know, fun, carefree, possibly a 21 and over section. So that sounds really, really good. It sounds like you considered some of the interests of the community, because we do have a big podcast culture here and a ton of people doing podcasting. And then I guess my question was, do you have people from Coatesville who are community members working on this initiative with you?
Yes, so all of the partners of this initiative are native Coatesville. We actually just, I mean, couldn't be done any other way, to be forthright with you, because the people who live here and work here and embrace just the arts community know where the resources are and really know, again, what are some of the, when we talk even about the historical kind of implications, just some of the things that have been here for a period of time, you know, how we lift up those stories as well. So everyone that is a partner are definitely from Coatesville. the other thing I want to just share really quickly too, you mentioned the podcasters community. So I think that if there is an opportunity for us to speak offline, there is one of the pieces for sustainability that this group has interest in is connecting this and talking about not just not to get too much into the details of it all, but in terms of when we talk about how to sustain this over a period of time, because everything is the podcasting just has exploded in general. And so there are some ideas on the table about how we can connect this long term, currently now and then long term. So if there's an opportunity for us to speak outside of this meeting, I would very much love to connect so that we can draw those. There are some mentioned on the table, but I don't know if it's inclusive of, the different arenas. And one of the artists is actually building out a network. So I want to definitely make sure that we connect so that we not only don't duplicate, but we don't leave anybody out, if you will, as well. I also love the Roots Picnic idea. That's on a whole other level. So I always say, you build, people ask and make mention and say, well, it can't be done. It can't be done. This group is saying, why can't it be done? So it's just a matter of pulling together our resources. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. I'm going to message you on here, my email.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Kimberly. I really appreciate it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kim.
Council. Thanks.
Have a good night.
Wonderful presentation. Thank you. Okay. So we are moving right along to our our discussion item. Does anyone have discussion regarding our meeting minute?
No, I don't.
Okay, seeing as there's none, let's move on to our citizens' hearings on regular action items. Do we have any comments?
No.
Thank you. So, yes, there's none. I need a motion to close.
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Poll council, please.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilperson Graves,
Yes.
Councilman Folks,
Yes.
Councilman Simpson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes.
5-0 carries. Thank you.
Thank you. 7.1 of our regular action items. Receive and consider a motion for the first reading and authorization to advertise an ordinance authorizing the city of Coatesville to lease the city's property located at 120 Pratt's Dam Road, West Brandywine Township, County of Chester, UPI number 29-8-5.5, to Protect Energy Solutions, LLC, for purposes of constructing and operating a solar energy generation facility for a 20-year term, with options for 2 5-year extensions, with an annual rental payment of not less than $40,000 for the first 3 years of the term, and an annual 1% escalation of rents in each subsequent year, beginning in the year 4, and payment of rents commencing at the start of construction of the solar facility, with a lump sum payment of the first 3 years of rent and continuing annually thereafter, beginning in year 4 on the anniversary date thereof, for the remaining term of the lease, including any extensions. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Either Mr. Logan or Mr. Verway, for the public's information, could you just expound a little bit on this, please?
Mr. Logan, if I may.
Very briefly, Madam President, the city put out a request for proposal for two of its vacant properties. This is the second one that's located in West Brandywine Township for purposes of leasing it for the installation and use as a solar energy generation facility, which is a renewable source of energy. Protec submitted a proposal that provides for essentially the terms set forth in the ordinance, which would be a 30-year term or a 20-year term with two extensions of 5 years. The initial rent will be $40,000 a month for the first $40,000 a year for the first 3 years, to be paid in a lump sum of $120,000 upon initiation of construction. And then each year, the rent will be increased by 1% over the prior year for the duration of the lease of that property. There will be a lease entered into that will provide for construction timelines, decommissioning at the end of the life of the project to ensure it's properly removed at the end of its useful life. And of course, Protec will have to go through all the development procedures required by West Brandywine Township. It's my understanding that they have in fact reached out and talked to the township, and they are receptive to this concept of being located in the township. Unless there are any other questions, that's my summary for this particular project.
Thank you, sir. Are there any questions or comments from council?
Nope.
Seeing as there's none, poll council, please.
Councilman Simpson,
Yes.
Councilman Folks,
Yeah.
Councilman Folks, sorry. Councilperson Graves,
Yes.
Yes.
thank you. And thank you, Councilman Folks. Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes.
5-0 carries. Thank you.
7.2, receive and consider a motion to approve the Civil Service Commission Police Department eligibility list and approve conditional offers from the eligibility list. Can I get a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you.
Okay. Let me pull my paperwork out here.
My poll.
Yes, please.
All right. Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilperson Graves,
No.
Councilman Folks,
Yeah.
Councilman Simpson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes.
4-1 carries.
Thank you. So now we'll turn to the appointment of our part-time patrol officers. The Civil Service Commission has provided us with a certified list of applicants who have successfully completed the oral and written exams for appointment. The city has adopted and incorporated the civil service provisions of the third-class city code for purposes of appointing police officers. These civil service provisions require that the chief of police nominate a candidate from among the 3 highest ranked applicants on the eligibility list. These appointments are for the position of part-time patrol officer within the Coatesville Police Department. Any candidate who is eligible for veterans preference under the city civil service provisions appearing on the list of 3 candidates must be selected. Candidates appointed tonight by council will be conditionally appointed subject to successful completion of a background check, medical and psychological evaluation. There are currently 4 vacancies for the position of part-time patrol officer within the City of Coatesville Police Department. The list of the 4 highest scoring candidates, eligible for the appointment of those positions ranked in order by score for council's consideration are as follows: William F. Cahill, Eric M. Petrucci, Devrim Genser, and Andrew F. DiPaolo. From the list, Chief Lawfer has nominated William F. Cahill, Eric M. Petrucci, Devrim Genser, and Andrew F. DiPaolo for conditional appointment as part-time patrol officers in the city police department. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion we need? Yes, please.
Yes. So almost every time this comes up, I say it, and I'm probably going to keep saying it until something else happens, but I don't feel comfortable approving for conditional hire without a background check. I understand that the chief and the civil service does that after we approve for conditional hire, but the buck has to stop at some place. And if we're going to be included in the hiring process to hire people, you know, who are armed and put them in our community, we should have some sort of background information about them. Right? I've said that before, and I'm just saying it again. And I know my time.
Thank you so much. And it is conditional, and the condition is that they're able to pass the, you know, background, psychological, and physical tests. So it is a conditional hire. They're not actually hired until they meet those conditions that we're requiring them to be tested on. So.
We have Councilwoman Green's hand is up.
Please.
Yes, I would just like to comment that these officers are the part-time that are fulfilling the backlog, the openings that we have for part-time officers to keep our, one benefit will be to keep our overtime low. The other thing is that they are conditional. The chief will do a thorough background check. Unfortunately, according to our charter and the third class city code, that's not a requirement, or that's not a condition for council to review the backgrounds of the officers. They are reviewed by the Civil Service Commission and by our chief. And as you guys remember, recently, I think with the last batch, there are guys that did not make it through the conditional background. We have hired the chief, and the chief is our go-to, and we have to trust his judgment because that's not a realm that we're entitled to be in as far as looking at and reviewing backgrounds of the police officers. So the chief has one very straightforward, and like I said, the last group, there were officers that did not meet it. They did not meet the standard and were not able to be hired. So conditional offer does not mean that they're hired. Conditional offer means that they have been placed in background, is essentially what it's saying. So that's my comments. Just to clarify.
Are there any other comments?
Yeah, just a clarifying comment. Thank you so much for the clarity. I have been an office administrator for like 5 years, so very familiar with conditional offers. and what that means. But thank you for clarifying.
You've been what? I didn't hear what you said.
I've been an office administrator for about 5 years, so I'm very comfortable, and I understand what a conditional
Yeah,
hire means.
I really wasn't trying to say that you didn't know. I just wanted to clarify that when they go in the conditional offer, that the chief has been very forthcoming when when they don't pass. I wasn't trying to say that you didn't understand what that meant.
Thank you.
Okay, so at this point, if there are no other points of discussion, Mr. Logan, I'm going to ask you to hold council.
Councilman Simpson,
Yes.
Councilman Folks,
Yes.
Councilperson Graves,
No.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes.
4-1 carries. Thank
So
you.
the motion carries, and William F. Cahill, Eric M. Petrucci, Devrin Genser, and Andrew F. DiPaolo are appointed as patrol officer on a part-time basis, subject to successful completion of a background check, medical, and psychological exam. So congratulations to you gentlemen for making it to this point, and good luck, and hopefully you can come all the way through and be a part of the Coatesville Police Department.
Madam President, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I think we forgot 7.3, and I have to leave here for work. Is there any way we can do that one real quick?
Right this very minute.
Thank you.
Receive and consider a motion to reject all bids for the exterior work on the historic train station. Could I get a motion?
I make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you.
Mr. Logan.
I'll defer this to our solicitor, Anthony Verway.
Thank you.
Yes, Council, the city received a number of bids for this particular project. After discussions with our city engineer, a number of questions arose regarding experience requirements for this particular project, and also the amounts of the bids. This is, I believe, Mr. Logan, this project is funded by grant dollars, and there is an upper limit to the amount that can be spent. The purpose of rejecting all bids is to allow for a rebid to be issued with a requirement regarding experience, as well as clarifying the amount, the maximum amount that's available for this project.
Very well. Thank you so much, sir. With that being said, are there any questions from council? Should I take that as a no? Full council, please.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilperson Graves,
Yes.
Councilman Folks,
Yes.
Councilman Simpson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes.
5-0 carries. Thank you.
7.4 is the promotion for our police officers. Chief Lawford, if you would, please.
Thank you, Madam President.
I'm sorry, please excuse me. Please excuse me. We need a motion first. Then we can go on into the discussion and expound it.
So we did that.
No, we did 7.4.
For 7.4, from lieutenant, from sergeant to lieutenant and things of that nature.
Sorry.
But I need a motion first.
I'll make the motion.
Second it.
Okay, now Chief, thank you if you would.
Thank you, Madam President. Just quickly, these promotions are brought about by the retirement of a long-term time Lieutenant Jim Audette, who has served the department well for 20 years. He has elected to retire after about 20 and a half years, and we wish him well in his new endeavor with the Chester County Sheriff's Department. So with his retirement, that creates the opportunity to promote Sergeant Roger Ollis from sergeant to lieutenant. Sergeant Ollis is well known in the community and well known by those on council. He is the only candidate on the civil service promotional list for the rank of lieutenant. The next promotion would be to fill Sergeant Ollis's position created by his promotion to lieutenant. And that would be my recommendation to promote Corporal Jeffrey Injemy, who is the highest scoring member on the corporal to sergeant list. There are two eligible, will be Corporal Injemy and Corporal Dowds. Corporal Injemy is the higher scoring, and my recommendation would be that we follow the scoring matrix on the civil service promotion process, and I recommend Corporal Injemy promoted to sergeant. We do not have an eligible candidate for officer to corporal because we have exhausted that list, so there'll be no recommendation for promotion to corporal. And I will make a recommendation to promote part-time officer Eric Himmel from part-time to full-time to fill that vacancy created by the retirement of Lieutenant Audette. And that would be the unanimous selection, the part-time officer selection from all the supervisors here in the police department. We've had an opportunity to observe the work of Officer Himmel in a part-time capacity, and it was a unanimous recommendation he be selected to fill the full-time position.
Very well. Questions, comments from council?
I have a question. Chief, is there a reason they're not on the call? Because or is there going to be a swearing in or something like it was last time?
Yes, our plan would be, provided we have approval tonight, we would then, the next council meeting, which would be the first council meeting in April, we would have them all present before the judge upstairs and have a similar swearing in ceremony as we had several meetings ago for the other officers.
Are there any other questions or comments?
And that would be for the promotions and for both the part-time.
I'm trying to hang in there, but I'm going to have to go.
Well,
We're
here, go
right
ahead.
there at the
You're
vote.
right there. I just wanted to ask that question. That's all.
Yeah, the part-time officer's background wouldn't be done by then, so we wouldn't have an ability for that,
Okay.
but it would definitely be for the promotions from current full-time officers.
Okay. So Injemy and Sergeant Ollis would both be on the call then?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Logan, whole council,
Yes.
please.
Thank you. Councilman Simpson,
Yes.
Councilman Folks. Councilman Folks. You're on
You're
mute.
muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Councilperson Graves,
No.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes.
4-1 carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can leave now, Ed.
I am. Thank you. I'll see you guys.
Wait till we
See ya.
close. Wait till we close.
Yeah, 1 minute. Yeah.
Can I get a motion to close?
I'll make that motion.
Come on, Ed, you were supposed to make that motion.
I'll second it.
Okay.
Full
Call
council.
for the vote.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilperson Graves,
Yes.
Councilman Folks,
Yes.
Councilman Simpson,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes.
All right. Good night, everyone. I got to run.
Right.
All right.
Right.
Night.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we're on to our report, beginning with Mr. Verway.
Good evening, Madam President. Since our last meeting, I reviewed and considered documents related to the proposed developments of the flats. I worked on real estate matters related to city property and easements. I've attended meetings regarding projects pending within the city of Coatesville. I drafted an ordinance for the leasing of city property, and I provided advice and direction on personnel matters related to hiring additional police. Unless there are any questions, that is my report.
Are there any questions from council for Mr. Verway?
Yeah, Mr. Verway, you've been working on the flats. How do you see that going? Can you give us any insight or how you feel about it?
My view is I represent council, so I'm trying to ensure that the documents are address council's issues as we've discussed in prior developments. I don't control how those the agreements ultimately flesh out, but we have addressed a number of issues that I think are important to council and are something we'll discuss in more detail because it is a legal matter. But I think overall it's progressed nicely, and I think council for the RDA in particular has worked very hard. He and I have had a number of discussions, telephone calls, and correspondence exchanges to discuss and address and flesh out issues related to the proposed development. I think he's done a really good job of addressing concerns to make sure that this project is one that stays on track, has benchmarks, ensures that there's revenue, there's tax revenue that comes to the city, and there's job creation, and it's an economic driver. We've also addressed some other real estate issues related to some easements, but those are all going well, and I'll be able to provide a more in-depth briefing before our next council meeting. Once I have the final documents, have an opportunity to go through some of the additional exhibits which we've not yet had provided to us.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome, sir.
Any other questions or comments for the solicitor? Thank you. Mr. Houston.
Okay, gonna jump with me first. All right, good. My report tonight, I'll do as quickly but not so fast so you don't understand my quickness here. COVID update, we always start off with lately, it seems. Coatesville is now at 975 positive cases. It's up 26 from 2 weeks ago. Unfortunately, I do have to report that we had 3 lost lives this last 2-week period of time. We are now at 15 in the city of Coatesville. County-wide, just under 30,000 positive cases, 739 deaths. 218 tests have been performed out of a population of 500,000. The county's most recent update was they've requested 51,000 vaccination kits, but have only received 24,000 to date. They have instituted the education staff vaccines. I know my brother is a teacher in Phoenixville, and he has gotten his Johnson & Johnson single dose COVID-19 this past week. So the program has 94,000 doses for our teachers and education staff. I will give you one announcement that just came out a little while ago. The Chester County Commissioners have announced this weekend, March 28th and 27th and 28th, there will be memorials held in honor of those families, a 1-year anniversary now of those lives we've lost in Chester County at Warwick Park, Springton Manor Farm, and Nottingham Park on Saturday and Sunday, March 27th and 28th, giving visitors a chance to remember and reflect upon the lives that we've lost to the coronavirus. So those will be at those parks. I will have this up on our website tomorrow, just for that sake. Last week you asked about whether the health department is tracking where the vaccines are being done by zip code, and they are not tracking by zip code. They thought it was a very interesting idea, but at this point in time, they are not tracking vaccinations by community. In the Millview Basin, we've talked about that now for a couple of meetings. The match letter parameters have been completed. It is now in the hands of our point person through Cedarville, Beth Euler, and Valley Township's engineers to coordinate with the scope of work with the DEP as that moves forward. I know you're all looking forward to the draft plan from Ash Park. That will be actually on April 17th. It will be unveiled at Ash Park. It'll be hosted by the Natural Lands Trust. It will be from 1 o'clock in the afternoon till 3 o'clock in the afternoon, weather permitting. All Coatesville residents are welcome to come, see the drawing, see the plans, and also have an opportunity to comment on the plan. And for City Council, since you saw a preview of the plan and gave me some feedback, I passed that on to the National Lands Trust, and they have included some of those changes already in that plan.
Good.
In the city, Route 82 paving and guardrails should be done this week or early next week. Again, weather permitting, but the weather looks pretty good here coming forward. And those of you in town this week noticed that Route 82 and the 30 intersection realignment has begun and will continue on until September. In the fire department, we had 4 call outs in the last 2 weeks. The one that I was going to mention was that we did have a small rash of trash cans set on fire on Lincoln Highway from 3rd through 5th Avenues. Our fire department did respond and put them out, and then we switched out the trash cans and the liners. But somebody decided to light up a couple of trash cans on the main drag this past week. In public works, obviously we're planning for spring cutting season. Flowers are starting to come out. The outdoor equipment's been checked and ready to go. You've also noticed that the team has been painting new lines around town as far as crosswalks, and also cold patching potholes, and also cleaning out stormwater inlets after a very rough winter. It needed to be done, and get those inlets cleaned out before we get into really heavy rainy season. My last thing is on the codes department. The zoning appeal has been filed. That is now set for March, I want to say 29th, in city council chambers to discuss that zoning appeal. There were 31 quality of life warnings issued, 5 for abandoned vehicles, 22 grills in violation of the porch ordinance, and several trash and upholstered furniture violations. And I do have to say this because you know I like finding these things. We had 3 chickens loose in the West End. So 2 weeks ago it was the goats. Today it's chickens. Who knows what I'm going to find out next time around for you all to have.
It's Ed Simpson's house.
Is that Ed Simpson's? Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I live just across the line in West Brandywine. Chickens and ducks are normal, but the city ordinance says no farm animals in town. But apparently 3 chickens were noted by neighbors and tagged by codes. So I wonder how they chased them down and tagged those chickens, but I'm not going to go there. Permits this week, we had 1 sign permit, 1 electrical, 2 vacant residency permits were filed, 24 rental licenses were applied for by landlords, 2 telecommunications contractors and 15 plumbing contractors submitted for their annual licenses in the city. So that is my report tonight.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you, sir.
You're
Any
welcome.
questions or comments?
No,
for
very
Mr.
good.
Houston?
Very good.
Thank you.
Very well. How about Mr. Logan? I wanted to allow Mr. Houston for a change to go ahead of you. Is Rich on the line also?
Yes.
Rich, would you like? So I'm sure unmute and give us your report.
I have a very few comments, Madam President. You have the financials through February in your package. And I would simply say that we're in a favorable status, and it's still early. There's still some timing issues happening and settling out. But we're trending well, especially in the area of early collections on the taxes. So still early, but it's trending the right way. That will conclude my report for the evening.
Bless your heart. Are there any questions for Mr. Troutman? Seeing as there's none, Mr. Logan, you bring it on home with your report.
I'll bring it home, but I do. I'm going to make it short because Chief Lawfer has some information he wants to share with the community as well. So just to piggyback on what Chip had reported, all of the activity, especially in the permits and license area. What that simply means is that, the city is moving forward. We have a lot of activity here, a lot of great great things are happening, a number of new businesses that are emerging. Just a quick note, City of Coatesville will continue its partnership this year with Kutztown University and SCORE. We will be launching a new entrepreneur program for startup businesses, as well as businesses that are in their second, maybe third phase. So we're excited about the return of that program. And hopefully we can get some of these businesses in some of the storefronts here in the city. In addition to that, Chip did mention the 3082 realignment. That actually resumed today. And we're very excited to see the MECO team back out there. It's a much anticipated project. And again, we're very excited that those guys are out there supporting the city and of course the county, as well as supporting the city on this particular project. You all heard about the flats in the land development recommendation this evening. Of course, council will deliberate on that and respond in the coming weeks. And I think that news and putting all of these things together in the community is it's a great sign of us moving forward. We did receive the PA American Water future projects. Just I want to give the community a quick update. Two of the projects this year will include Harlan and Adams Drive. There's going to be some sewer replacement in that area. So for those of you who live in those areas or that community or that neighborhood, there will be work this year from PA American Water. In addition to that, if you live on Harmony Street from 6th to Modena Alley, PA American Water will also be working on the sewer replacement lines there. So a lot of activity, a lot of construction. This is to improve our sewer systems. PA American Water, we were on a call with them about a week ago. They're very dedicated to this community. And of course, the community benefits from the work that they do here in our infrastructure and street repairs. So we look forward to their work. And of course, we look even more forward when they're done and out of here. But I mean that in a good way, guys. On the community update, in your packet, council members, you see the flyer from Morgan Corporation. Morgan Corp is based in Morgantown. They were founded in 1952 by a gentleman named Elton. I think it's pronounced Mounts. They started out as a small welding company. And then in 1990, a gentleman by the name of John Poindexter bought the company from Elton, and he just took it to new heights. So the company itself, by way of the Chester County Economic Development Council and the Workforce Investment Board, introduced Morgan to the city of Coatesville. Their HR vice president came out. We met with them. We did a walkthrough of City Hall, and they just thought City Hall would be a great place to host their next job fair, which is going to be held on April 10th. And that's going to be here at City Hall from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Now, the thing about this one, this particular job fair, which is much different from the Urban Outfitters event, is this job fair is by appointment only. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to go onto our website, and that's going to be posted tomorrow morning on how to link and make that appointment. And the reason why we're doing appointment only is because, of course, of COVID, but we want to ensure that the individuals that are lining up for these positions are going to be successful candidates, because the jobs that are available include manufacturing assemblers, welders, machine operators, material handlers, and service technicians. So these are, well respected, jobs in the industry. For those of you who will be able to get an opportunity to work with Morgan, they will provide you with training. So not only will you be trained to do some of this work, but you'll also have an opportunity to work for a company that is probably one of the leading industry and commercial truck bodies. So we're very excited to have Morgan to look at Coatesville as a prospect to host a job fair. We're also excited to partner with Hire One program led by Jim Lochner over at the Economic Development Council. And we are poised to have an exciting event on April 10th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. That information, as I said, will be posted on our website, which is www.coatesville.org. 3 other items I have left, and then I'll turn it over to you, Chief. The first is I want to thank all those in our community over the last week, and especially this weekend, for volunteering to register and transport many of our resident seniors to get their COVID vaccinations. As you all know, we've been challenged in this community as well as other parts of the county, but in particularly here in Coatesville, we can't seem to get enough vaccination centers. And I know that the commissioners are trying, but we sometimes have to take things into our own hands. So I want to thank those individuals who have stepped forward to volunteer some of our seniors. Thank Ricky Campbell. I know he transported a number of seniors this weekend out to some locations. We appreciate you all for taking the lead in that area. And we do anticipate, the county to pretty much, follow up with their, I don't want to say promise, but with their initiative and their focus on bringing these vaccination centers to Coatesville. In addition to that, I hope those that are listening this evening recognize and are reminded that Coatesville is a cultural and economically sound or force to be reckoned with. One of the things that Kimberly was talking about in terms of the Renaissance, it's just not about African Americans in the community. It's about people coming together. Whether you're Black, white, Hispanic, or Asian descent. This is a very rich community here, and these particular initiatives that are taking place by the Brandywine Health Foundation or the City of Coatesville or any of these organizations that are emerging from this is important. It's restoring our community. In addition to the Black Renaissance Initiative, there are a group of entrepreneurs led by Katie. I'm laughing because I was just on the phone with Kevin the other night with KTB Graphics. I got to say that slow. And Kevin, what he's doing is he's working with a gentleman by the name of Jermaine Thomas, and they're putting together an exciting event that's going to happen in May. It's going to happen over at Midway Arts. And this is just a springboard to more cultural, artistic events that will be happening in Coatesville. So my hat's off to those guys and to those volunteers that are putting that together. And then the last thing I just want to make a note of is we were talking about, the Velodrome and that particular program, and a lot of great questions came out of it. And one in particular that stood out for me was, why the Velodrome here and our kids interested? And it made me think about the program in Philly, which some of you may have heard about, may be familiar with because it's been around for a long time now. It's the Work to Ride program. And if you all recall, this was on 60 Minutes. It was on a number of news magazines. And this was a program that took a lot of our Black kids in Philadelphia, put them into a equestrian program and taught these young people how to ride horses. And some of those individuals went on and they made it into, or they're making it onto some polo teams that are recognized throughout this country. So I guess I want to say that because, oftentimes we may assume what kids may not be interested in until they're exposed to it. And if we have a number of, diverse kids that got interested in horseback riding or equestrian or polo, then I'm sure we have a number of them that might be interested in cycling. So with that, I'm going to kick it over to the chief. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Logan. I realize it's not my meeting to speak about police matters, but I just want to touch on 2 different investigations and just recognize some outstanding investigative effort on the part of Coatesville officers and also South Coatesville borough officers and county detectives. We had two different cases involving shootings. One was back in February where a young male was shot on South 6th Avenue and unfortunately will be paralyzed for life. Our officers, through hard investigative efforts between our detectives led by Detective Sergeant Brandon Harris, Corporal Sean Dowds, and county detectives put a lot of hours into solving this case. And this past week, we're able to successfully identify, obtain an arrest warrant, and pick up the individual that was responsible for shooting this young man on South 6th Avenue back in February and causing him to, in all likelihood, be paralyzed for the rest of his life. And the sad part about it is it was all over a gambling debt that this young man will now be in a wheelchair. So it's a sad case, but I just want to recognize the investigative efforts of our city detectives and also cooperation with the county detectives and at least being able to bring some closure to that shooting. And then also we had another shooting last week involving a resident of South Coatesville, where that resident was entering the city on Woodland, just south of Oak, when his vehicle was struck multiple times by handgun 9mm rounds. And once again, through some great investigative work by the detectives here, in cooperation with Chief Pierce out of South Coatesville and his officers and the county detectives, within 24 hours, we had our suspect identified and had arrest warrant issued and had him picked up. He has been charged with attempted homicide and aggravated assault for firing at that occupied vehicle, as it drove down Woodland toward Oak. So just two cases that I think the officers really did an outstanding job, went above and beyond, put in a lot of hours, felt it was important for the community to try to bring closure to both of those shooting incidents and how disruptive that type of gun violence is to our community and how disruptive it is to our efforts at revitalization and everything that we talked about earlier tonight, how important it is for the community to feel a sense that, a sense of security, if you will, and it can't be overlooked in the whole revitalization process. So I want to just take a minute to recognize that outstanding effort on behalf of our detectives and our patrol officers too, in cooperation with South Coatesville and with the county detectives in those two investigations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chief, and congratulations and thank you on the successful investigation and apprehensions. Thank you. Okay, so we will be moving right along to our citizens' hearings on non-agenda. Are there any?
Madam President, I don't know if we have any. Redan, can you double check, please?
I just have a couple questions, but one is from Wendy Whitaker, asking about if the part-time officers are Coatesville residents.
Do you want me to address that, Mr. Logan?
Yes, please.
Yes. We had no Coatesville residents applied for the positions.
But please, Ms. Whitaker, by all means, if you're aware of any Coatesville residents that are in police enforcement, we would love for them to apply here in the city and be a part of our team. So please inform them, if they're interested, to submit to the chief.
And we do have rolling enrollment for part-time officers. We don't have a closed application period. We accept applications year-round, and we simply keep them in our file until at such time as we offer a part-time officer civil service exam. And we would be, as Madam President said, we're happy to entertain all applications. from those, in the city and outside. We actively promote and advertise on the PA Chief's website, which is the go-to site. Everybody knows if you want a job in police in Pennsylvania, you go to the Pennsylvania Chiefs of Police website, and that's a central repository for all open positions, part-time and full-time, in the entire state. So we have no closed application period, and we would be happy to accept anybody's application.
Thank you, Chief.
Madam President, there were a few other questions. One question was in reference to the partners on the Velodrome. Were these the same men who worked with Mr. Morgan first? To answer that question, I think one of the investors was part of Mr. Morgan's investment team in the beginning. Let's see. Another question is, can velodrome tracks be used for more than bikes? That I don't know. We would have to get that answer from those, the velodrome experts. I think that that particular track though is specially designed for a type of speed racing. Let's see, another question that came in. Will programs be offered for free for community members to learn about the velodrome and cycling programs? I don't know if the programs will be free, but we can check in for you to better answer that question.
He did say that they would be inviting and bringing in the youth to learn about the velodrome.
Okay.
He did mention that in the presentation.
Right.
Yeah.
Madam President, could I just add one additional thing with regard to our police department?
Yeah.
There is with regard to hiring, and I believe I did send it around to council to be pushed out to the community, but there is an opportunity for several scholarships that are being offered to residents of Chester County, specifically only Chester County, for a minority scholarships for actual Act 120 training at the Delaware County Police Academy. So if those that are interested can certainly contact the police department, and we have the contact information of how to go about applying for those couple scholarship opportunities. But they are open for qualified minority candidates only in Chester County only that have an interest in law enforcement. So that is another opportunity to not only get into policing, but to have the schooling paid for and a stipend, I believe, is also with that scholarship while you attend at Delaware County Community College. So for those out there who might be interested, we can certainly make that happen.
What's the age limit, Chief?
He didn't hear you.
Yeah, I think you might you might be 1 year over, Mr. Cole.
No, but for
you
for a
mean
young man
minimum
coming out.
age?
Yeah, what's the
21.
for a young man?
21 years. 21.
No, for a young man that's coming out of high school, how old does he have to be to become a police officer?
21.
Okay.
Yeah, 21 years old in Pennsylvania. Yes.
And we did have another question. This was for the Brandywine Health Foundation. And I think I would have to find this out because it's a question that's not in my area. So to the person that asked this question, you know who you are. I will circle back with you in the morning. Thank you. Thanks everyone for all your questions.
Okay, so now I just need a motion to
Make a
close.
motion.
Is there a second?
I'll take it.
Any questions or comments? Full council, please.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
Councilperson Graves,
Yes.
Councilman Folks,
Yes.
Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yes.
All right, 4-0 carries.
Awesome. We have no special events, so we're on to our council comment. Mr. Folk,
Why you pick me all the time? Go first.
because you're special.
Once again, yeah, it was a good meeting. I just want to thank everybody, you know, and I'm gonna go back to what I said before. Oprah, JC, Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Jeffrey Lurie, Rip Hamilton, save this city. We have children out here and no place for these kids to go. I'm asking you if you would consider in helping out this city. Give me a call. Hell, I'll come where you at. I'm fully vaccinated. To the residents of Coatesville, you have a good night. Thank you for joining us.
But you say you're fully vaccinated. You can check them out.
Fully vaccinated. I'll come to you.
All right.
Body coffee? What?
Councilperson Graves.
Yes. Hello, everybody. Thank you all for watching, attending, joining on YouTube. For people who rewatch, thank you so much for tuning in and being engaged with our civic process. We will continue to make sure we invest directly into our communities, invest in trying to bring jobs here with good and sustainable living wages, making sure that we always advocate for affordability and community that directly reflects the needs, and good health and human resources in Coatesville, because that's what our community needs to thrive. And yeah, thank you once again, and good night and bless. I yield my time.
Thank you, love. Councilwoman Green.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to thank Mr. Logan said that some people came together and volunteered to take some seniors to get COVID vaccinated. He mentioned the name of Ricky Campbell, and I just want to thank him and anyone else who assisted in that. Just a little frustration with this vaccination process. I just implore the commissioners to bring some walk-in or walk-up test vaccination sites to the city. There's been a few different organizations and churches that have volunteered their spaces. I just hope that they could take that into consideration. You know, Mr. Houston mentioned today that there were 26 new cases in Coatesville. But the way that they're doing the dashboard now, they're just doing it by 19320. So if you look at 19320, you'll see it's only a 1% increase, not very much. But when you look at individual municipalities throughout Chester County, Coatesville is about 7.4%, which is one of the highest. So we truly need a walk-up site for people to go and get vaccinated. You know, the places where they're vaccinating now, you're going to have to go to Kennett, or you have to go to Westchester. A lot of our residents are not affording that transportation. You know, thank God for people like Ricky Campbell and others who are volunteering. But just imagine how much more or how many more people could be vaccinated. I mean, 26 may not seem like a lot, but when you look overall, that's a lot. The county numbers are going down, but we're steadily increasing. So I implore them to bring a walk-up site. And again, there's many churches that have volunteered their spaces. Many nonprofits have volunteered their spaces. We need to make a way. You know, we want this, and I understand that you don't have quite enough, but I just think that our little city needs to be a priority. We came into the game late, but we're up over, Mr. Houston, correct me, about 984 cases. 984 cases, that's a lot. So again, you know, the dashboard, the way that they're doing the dashboard, they're not doing it the way that they did it in the beginning. They're lumping all 19320 together. So it doesn't seem like a lot when you're looking at 62,000 people. But when you're looking at 13,000 people, it's a lot.
Almost 1,000.
So I just implore them to bring a walk-up testing site into the city of Coatesville. You know, people are going to Allentown, people are going to Philadelphia, people are traveling so far trying to get the shot because they want to get the shot. And if we had a walk-up testing site, we would see people want to be vaccinated. So I just implore them to do that as soon as possible, to bring us in, to bring, you know, they're testing out throughout the county, include Coatesville. You know, I know that they do it in the senior center, you know what I mean? And they're using that 1A and 1B. We got to get beyond that. We got to get our teachers vaccinated. We got to get the other people in the schools vaccinated. We got to get people in the healthcare, the group homes and things like that nature. We got to get them vaccinated. People want to be vaccinated. So I hope that they just make some changes and make some adjustments soon. And, you know, and get Coatesville vaccinated. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I yield my time.
Thank you, love. I want to echo my colleagues and say that I'm grateful for that. I also want to first say thank you to the city for acknowledging my brother's passing with the plan. It was beautiful, and I am ever grateful and thankful for it. But I just want to highlight again the fact that my brother was in the fire department. He was a member, an active member for 53 years. And within those 53 years, he became the first Black fire chief in Chester County. The first in Chester County. And he's been fighting fires for 53 years. That speaks volumes. And then we move into congratulating Councilwoman Green for being honored on Sunday for Women's Month. Congratulations, very well done for her work in our community. And, you know, it's no small feat to be honored within your home community. So congratulations to you for that.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
When I said my brother being the first Black fire chief speaks volumes, it takes me to the COVID situation, speaking volumes. We hear a lot about the Black community not being vaccinated. Well, from my point of view, it isn't as much they don't want to be, is that more they don't have access to the vaccine. So whether they wanted to or not, they couldn't do it. And it still goes marked as they're not being vaccinated. That's not okay. That's not good. And it needs to be drilled down into. I also have been made aware that April, I'm going to say 6th, Tabernacle Baptist Church will have 325 vaccines. But they didn't go to the county commissioners for this. They went through Brandywine Hospital and Penn Medicine. So since we've been asking for the vaccine sites in the city, and we were told from the beginning we needed 5,000 square feet, but I know that Rite Aid and CVS have nowhere near that. You know, that's just a side note. We have facilities that can house. We've had three churches that wanted to be walk-up sites. We've also had one of our nonprofit organizations offer up their facilities. None of the facilities have been good enough for us to have a vaccine site. I don't understand why. There's no real excuse for it. I just implore our county commissioners to kind of throw your weight around a little bit and get the city of Coatesville some recognition, because we need it. Not only do we need it, we want it. And you know, when you want things, you'll go for them. A lot of times when you say you need something, you wait for somebody to supply it. But when you want it, you'll go get it yourself. Well, there are people here in the city of Coatesville that want the vaccine. They don't have transportation. And Ricky Campbell and the people that were was providing transportation before, they can't transport everybody in the city. And they shouldn't have to. There should be sites right here, not just vaccinating, but also testing. The Rite Aid isn't enough. The senior center isn't enough. And they're only a block away from one another. How about we put a site in West End, a site in the East End, and ensure that people have the accessibility? You have over 700 cases that are not appointed to any particular municipality. I think you need to look into those numbers and attribute them to the proper location. Then you'll have a better understanding as to the fact that we in the city count too. We want help, we need help, and we're standing at your door knocking. Answer us. We need the vaccine. And it's time that we're taken seriously, because our numbers are rising, not only in cases, but also in deaths. We were considered a hot spot. And it seems to me it would only be right that you address the hot spot, cool that down. I'm not a fireman, my brother was, but I know they go to the hottest point first and work their way away from it. Come to the city of Coatesville. Talk to our residents if you need to, but just know we want and need a vaccine testing and vaccination site in the city. I'm not fussing, but I want to make it plain and clear the fact that it's necessary. I thank you. I thank you for listening, entertaining the thought. And I'm not even saying you're not trying. I'm just saying there's an urgency here that you may not be aware of. With that being said,
Madam President?
Yes.
I'm sorry, but I have one more item that I need to share with you. This is from your colleagues, and I'm just going to be very brief with it. It says, "Dear Lavender family, it is with great sympathy and sorrow to hear about the passing of John Lee Lavender, former fire chief of the Modena Fire Company. John came to us on March 31st, 1953, and will now live in eternity. He was a graduate of the great class of 1972 at Cash and the Chester County Vocational Technical School with a certificate in horticulture. John loved to be of service to his community, which he expressed through his commitment to the Modena Fire Company, where he served since 1968. When John was promoted to the position of fire chief, he became, as you noted, the first African-American fire chief in Chester County. John was known for his generosity, his wisdom, and knowledge. Always wearing a welcoming smile, he would often make himself available to lend a helping hand to anyone in need. On behalf of the entire City Council, please accept our deepest condolences. May the Lord bless you and your family with fond memories of his life, dedication, and enduring family love. Please know that you are in our thoughts and prayers. With love and appreciation, your City Council. Thank you.
With that being said, I'm just going to say God bless. I love y'all. And give us the motion to close.
I make that motion.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Y'all got me emotional. I'm hanging up.
I'll second.
Yeah, I'm just going to take myself off camera. And that was
Councilman Folks,
Yes.
Councilperson Graves,
yes.
Councilwoman Green,
Yes.
and Councilwoman Lavender Norris.
Yep.
Good night.
She has to say adjourn.
Adjourn. Thank you.
Mhm.
God
Thank
bless
you.
you all.
Thank you, everyone.